Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Insightful Accountant webinar, Top 10 Payroll Tasks to Prepare for Year End, presented by Annie Hambaugh, sponsored by Patriots. Insightful Accountant is an online news and information source written for small business advisors interested in the latest news and offerings in accounting technology. My name is Emily Hedrick, and I will be your webinar host. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them in the Q&A box, and we'll try to address them. The session will be recorded, and everyone that has registered will receive a follow-up email with the recording and handout. Today's speaker is Annie Hambaugh. Annie has been with Patriot Software companies for 23 years. She works firsthand with the payroll and accounting product teams to implement features in software, and also maintains Patriot's online help center content with written articles and training videos. Her passion is to help accountants and small business owners by providing the tools they need to successfully run their business. Thank you, Annie, for being here with us today. And when you're ready, you can get started.
Okay, thank you so much, Emily, for having us here today. I'd just like to welcome all of you. Thanks for joining me here today for the top 10 payroll tasks to prepare for year end. So as you know, it's already the end of October, if you can even believe it. And we all know that these last 2 months are going to fly by. So for those of you who run payrolls for your clients, now is the time to start thinking about the things that you'll need to do to get your affairs in order for year end. So everything that I go through today, you might not be able to do just yet, but we've compiled a top 10 list to give you some guidance so that you can start preparing now and know what you'll need to do in the next couple of months. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I just want to tell you a little bit about Patriot. We provide online payroll and accounting software for small businesses and their owners. And we offer 2 different levels of payroll products and 2 different levels of accounting software. So we have a basic payroll, which you handle all of your tax filings. And then we have a full service payroll, which most of our customers take, where Patriot will take care of all of your payroll tax deposits and filings. We also have 2 levels of accounting software. We have a basic package and a premium package, which just simply has more rich features. We have been in business since 2002. And then we also have a partner program for accountants that I will get into more details a little bit later. Just a little bit about me. My name is Annie Hambaugh. I'm the Director of Training here at Patriot. I've been with Patriot for 18 years, since the beginning of when Patriot started, and then a few more years even prior to that with other prior sister companies. So I started out in human resources and then worked my way through product management, where I would work with our software development teams. And now I am in the role of strictly training. So before we begin with today's presentation, we have just a few different quick poll questions. So Emily, if you want to start the first one. So the first one is just real quick. Have you ever heard of Patriot before? You might have been familiar with us. Liz Scott did a presentation back in July, and we showcased Patriot back then. So just a quick yes or no. Have you heard of Patriot? And then just a couple other quick poll questions. Do you currently run payroll for your clients? So either yes, you do, or no, but you're considering, or no, and you're not planning to add payroll services at this time. So I'm just trying to get a feel for how many of you currently do run payroll as I go through these top 10 tasks that you'll be wanting to consider as you're getting all of your clients' affairs in order. And then the last question is, if you do run payroll for your clients, how many clients? So if you just want to pick a range of clients that you do currently run payroll for. And I also wanted to point out that if you do happen to be watching this in the future on a recorded playback, you will not see these poll questions. So these are just for our live audience today. So you won't be seeing anything when you watch this back in the video. Okay, thank you, Emily, for doing that. So let's move ahead to our agenda for today. So we're going to be learning 10 ways to prepare now for year-end payroll tasks. We're going to be seeing a demo of Patriot's online software, which includes running a payroll, running some reports, and actually the creation of the W-2 process in our software. And then I'm going to be going into some accounting partner program benefits that Patriot offers to accountants to use Patriot Software to run payroll and accounting and manage their own clients using Patriot. So let us go ahead and get started with the top 10 lists of payroll tasks. So number one is the first thing you want to do is verify employee names, social security numbers, and current addresses. So you or your clients are going to want to make sure that they have a current W-4 form and any state withholding certificates on file. So this is included. And this includes the employee's demographic information, making sure that their address is complete, making sure that their social security number is correct. So you want to make sure if anything does need corrected that you do it before you finish your final payroll of the year and create those W-2s. I want to point out that for the year 2020, the IRS issued a brand new version of Form W-4. This only needs to be completed for brand new people who started work January 1st of 2020. So all new hires this year needed to complete the new 2020 form, or if you had an existing older employee that needed to make federal income tax withholding changes, they needed to complete the 2020 W-4. Everybody else, if you have existing older employees that started prior to 2020, they can still keep using the old 2019 and prior W-4 form. Currently, the IRS is not requiring everybody to make that change, but that is something that might be happening in the future. So we're keeping an eye on that. But currently right now, the new 2020 W-4 form just needs completed for brand new hires this year and anybody who wants to make a change going forward. Number two, record any earnings that happened outside of regular payroll. So this includes handwritten checks, holiday gift cards, cash bonuses, taxable fringe benefits. So in your handout in the PDF, I'm going to have links in here and they are going to be clickable links. So I've got some resources for you with some IRS instructions and resources, and then also third-party sick pay. So, and the same thing with when you're recording a voided check. So anything that didn't happen in the normal course of you actually running payrolls. So for an example, if you were to give all of your employees $100 in gift cards for Christmas or for the holidays, you would need to record that as taxable income. Even though it didn't happen as part of a paycheck, that's taxable earnings to the employee, and you want to make sure that your payroll software has accounted for that extra $100 in this case. So anything not specifically part of a paycheck, gift cards, achievement awards are all reportable income. There are executive bonus plans. There are S-Corp shareholders that are taxed on the company paid portion of their health insurance. You're going to want to make sure that that has been included so that it shows up on that S-Corp shareholders W-2. So all of these will need to be included as taxable income. So just start thinking now about anything outside activity that has not been part of your normal course of running payroll that does need to be added to make sure that it shows up on that employee's W-2. Number three, determine which employees should be paid out for unused time off. So with COVID, we're obviously finding that not all employees are taking all of their time. So this is going to depend on company policy. So you're going to want to make sure with your clients, what is their policy for unused time off? Does the employee get paid out a certain amount? Is there a cap on that? If they have, 7 weeks of vacation, are they allowed to get paid all 7 weeks, or is there a cap that only 1 or 2 weeks gets paid out? So you're going to want to make sure what your client's time off policies are. And then if there is going to be unused time off that the employees don't take, you're going to need to figure out what the dollar amounts are to pay them out. So it's going to depend on company policy. You're going to calculate the lump sum that you're going to need to pay out, and you're going to determine exactly when this will need to be paid out. Normally it's the last pay of the year, but it doesn't always have to be. So that's going to be dependent on some variables there. One thing that you can do now is encourage your employees, if they do have a lot of time off left available, encourage them to take it now before the end of the year if they're able to. So that will, obviously save the company some money when it comes to cashing out unused time off, and the employee also gets a break. So it's just, it's a strange year. We all agree. And so sometimes the employees don't always have it in the front of their minds that they should take a mental break from sitting, even if they're not actually going out of town or have vacation plans, that they still should take their time off. And then also, if you're going to be keeping track of who has available paid time off hours, you'll just need to make note of who's got that time and if they need to be rolled over into next year. So that's another plan variable that if the client company allows unused time to be rolled over, you're going to need to make note of that too, so that at the end of the year, any unused time off hours can be rolled over into next year. So a lot of variables that you'll just want to make sure that you check into what your client's time off policies are, so that you can either be prepared, cash out what they have left over, or roll it over. Okay, number 4, determine who has benefit enrollment changes for next year. So this is making the assumption that the client's benefit year is a calendar year starting over every January 1st. That's not always the case. Not everybody's benefit plans start January 1st. So this is just regarding those plans that do. So in the cases where benefit plans start January 1st, normally there's an open enrollment period during the month of December. Normally it's either the full month of December or just a couple weeks in December, where employees will have the option to make changes to their benefit plan election. So for example, if they have medical insurance and they want to drop it and go on their spouses, or other reasons that they can make those changes without having to have a legitimate change in their status, that's the time of year when employers are going to go make those changes and add and drop coverage. It also just depends on if there are new benefit plans to be offered for next year. What you're going to do is, what I like to do is start a list now of what everybody has set up currently for this year. Then you'll at least have a guideline so you can compare what is in place today, so that when you go to make your changes, you will have your report or your list of what they have today. You make your changes, and then you would make your changes after that final payroll is run for this year, so that those benefit deductions can be effective the first pay in January of the following year. So there's a few different things that you're going to have to look at for this. You're going to need to determine if costs are changing at the plan level across the board. So if you're getting a increase across the board for your medical insurance, everybody's deductions are going to need to be changing. So there are some payroll software such as ours where you can make that at the global level and apply that to all employees at once. So it's not a hard chore. Or depending on the software that you use, you might need to go to every single employee's record and make that change and make that deduction increase or decrease, depending on what needs to be changed. So they could be company level changes that you need to apply in addition to just the employee individual specific elections that they have made. Let me see here. So it's helpful to have a list, like I had mentioned, and then especially for clients who are paid weekly, you're going to have a relatively small window of time to make those changes for the next year. One other thing I wanted to mention that I forgot is company paid contributions. If you track those in payroll, those very well could be changing as well. So if you have a medical increase and that affects the company paid portion as well, you're not only going to be changing the employees' deductions that are coming out of their pay, but you're also going to be changing the company paid part, which doesn't affect their pay. It's more of just an FYI number for them, so the employee can see, oh, my company's paying $30 a week for medical insurance for me. So that might be another thing that you need to consider for both the deduction and the company paid contribution part. So one thing I wanted to, I thought about this over the weekend and I added the slides. So I've got a number 4.5 because I didn't want to change my top 10 title. Top 10 sound a lot better than top 11. But for this year, keep in mind that Christmas falls on a Friday. So does New Year's. So for employees who normally would be paid on Friday, December 25th, keep in mind that is a bank holiday. So that means the Federal Reserve is shut down. There are no direct deposits happening. No direct deposits will be deposited in anybody's bank account on Christmas Day. So what we would recommend is bumping that pay 1 day sooner. So December 24th, even though it's a holiday, it's not a bank holiday. So direct deposits will be available on December 24th. So that prevents the employee from having to wait 3 more days to get paid for Christmas. So keep that in mind. Same with New Year's. So this is also a little strange because normally what would be the first pay of January 21, if you decide to pay them 1 day sooner on December 31st, technically that's still a 2020 pay and not a 2021 pay. So it's just a little odd, like with everything else with 2020, it's just another little quirk that you're going to need to be aware of. So be sure to get out your calendars, make your plans for when you're going to be running your payrolls. Keep in mind, if you are paying direct deposit and if you have for example, a 4-day window, you're going to need to run payroll a day early or make sure that you arrange for expedited direct deposit. Otherwise, those direct deposits are not going to be there the day before. So be very careful, and you'll probably just want to plan on running your payroll 1 day sooner than you normally do for those days. So that was my extra little thing that I thought of this weekend that I wanted to insert in there for you. Next one, number 5, we're going to confirm that all money types are properly set up to report in the correct Form W-2 boxes. So for those of you who might not be familiar with exactly what a Form W-2 looks like, it is simply a form that has a lot of different numbered boxes. And it's very important to make sure that the correct dollar amounts are reported in each one of those boxes, because each one of those means a different thing. So for example, you're going to want to make sure that all earnings, all deductions, and all company paid contributions are reported correctly in those boxes. Not every single type of deduction or company paid contributions need to be reported, but for example, 401k deferrals that the employee has deducted from their pay, that needs to be reported separately in box 12 with a code of D. The total medical premium costs between the employee and employer needs to be reported in box 12 with a code of DD. And then if the employee participated in a retirement plan or received third-party sick pay that year, there is an X that they would mark in box 13. So we have included just the IRS 2020 instructions, and that gives the full instructions directly from the IRS as far as what needs to be reported in each of those boxes. Now, for 2020, we have a new requirement that I wanted to make sure you were aware of. So we have the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. This was passed earlier this year. This was one of the very first laws that Congress passed once COVID hit. And this is to pay out paid leave for employees who needed to miss work due to either being sick themselves or needing to quarantine or isolate due to COVID, or if they needed to take care of their dependents, or if a dependent's school or daycare was closed. So there are 3 reasons that you would need to pay out COVID paid leave. That needs to be reported in boxes 1, 3, and 5, and that's just regular wages. So any other type of normal earnings also get reported there. It also needs to be reported separately in box 14 or a separate statement. And realistically, in our case, in Patriots' case, we're going to be issuing separate statements because what the IRS wants to, what they're suggesting you add for wording is you need to say sick leave wages subject to the 511 day per day limit for the employee sick leave. And that's too much. That's too many words to fit into a W-4 form. So what we're doing is we're actually going to be creating a separate statement, and that actually needs to be given to them at the same time as their W-2. I've included here the official IRS guidance for reporting this. I've also included, we have a much friendlier looking blog article, and I'm going to bring this in and I'm going to show this to you now. This is a link in that handout, but it's a lot prettier than the IRS instructions. So it gives you the 3 types of leave and the reasons for taking the paid leave, the maximum time off for those days, and then the maximum dollars. So again, we actually have a great resources for, we have a COVID-19 resource center. So this is also something that's going to be in the handout as a resource for you. So lots of different topics about, employer tax relief, the small business loans, paycheck protection program, all of that stuff, paid and sick family leave, which is what we just talked about, that's going to need to be reported on the W-2, unemployment. So lots of different things here. So like I mentioned, let me show it right here. This link will be in your PDF that has the full COVID Resource Center. So lots of things to keep an eye on this year with COVID. So that is one of them. Okay, the next thing I have here is verify company tax rates that are subject to change. So for example, state unemployment tax rates. So you're going to want to make sure that you have, if your clients are receiving their unemployment tax rate notice for the following year, make sure that you get a copy of that and make sure that you update your payroll system so that when payrolls are run, it's calculating the correct amount of tax for state unemployment. There are also some states that have disability insurance, such as New York and New Jersey. They also have they're treated as tax rates that need to be incorporated when you run a payroll. There's also some states such as Washington and Wyoming that have workers' comp tax that are also going to need to be included and updated in your payroll system. So a lot of these are effective changing January 1st. So just be sure to get a copy of these tax rate notices from your clients so that you can enter them into the payroll system and have them be ready on time. We actually have a nice little resource called New Employer Information by State. It's really for new businesses starting up, but it gives you a nice list. It's a map of the US that you can click on your state and you can see a nice list of all of the different types of taxes in that state that you're going to need to keep track of and keep track of the rates. So that is in there for your resources. Okay, number 7, order paper W-2 and W-3 forms. So this isn't always the case. This is only if you print your own forms. You do have the ability to print either on blank paper, depending on your payroll software, or you can post electronically. So I will get into that a little bit later. So this is just if you do need to print paper forms. You still have the option to order forms from the IRS, or you can order your W-2 and W-3 forms from a private supplier, such as online or an office supply store. And then you're just going to want to make sure that those forms do indeed work with your payroll software. So you're going to be feeding those into your printer, making sure that everything prints nicely in those little boxes. So there might be some adjustments that you will need to make. Okay, I'm going to go back real quick. So employees can give consent to receive their W-2s electronically. So Patriot does have a way to do this where you can post the W-2 in the employee's portal. So when the employee logs into their own portal, sees their own personal information, looks at their paychecks, they can actually get their W-2s in a PDF form right there electronically, and there's no need for you to post the paper or print the paper versions. So that is a nice option for you. But you're going to probably assume that not every single employee is going to at least consent or have access to a way to get their W-2s electronically. So in the event that they don't, this is where you'd want to consider either buying the forms or printing them on blank paper if your software allows you. Okay, moving on. So this is a great time to evaluate your payroll provider for next year. So you're going to want to determine what your needs are, consider the cost, and compare and analyze your options. One of the great things about changing payroll providers January 1st is that you do not have any type of year-to-date history that you're going to need to enter for your clients. So it makes a nice clean break, no history you have to worry about, and you can just start fresh and clean on January 1st. Patriot actually has a white paper, and there is a link to that in there called 9 Things to Consider When Choosing Payroll Software. So we are giving that as a gift to you, and hopefully it will help you kind of guide you through if you're looking to make changes as your payroll provider for next year. Number 9, after the final payroll is run for the year, and again, you're going to need to look at your December calendar and figure out when that is because of the way the holidays fall, verify the employee wages before you actually create your W-2s. So again, this is kind of a repeat, just making sure to include the taxable benefits anything that's not already included in payroll, such as the cash bonuses, the gift cards, S Corp shareholders with the company paid health insurance. Okay, so assuming you are good with the numbers, everything has been included and accounted for, this is when you actually will create your W-2s and W-3s. So once you do that, you're going to need to make sure that you distribute a copy of Form W-2 to each employee with earnings from last year. So this includes terminated employees as well. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Anybody who's no longer working but still has earnings this year, you're going to need to make sure that you have correct addresses for them, not to mention the correct social security number and other demographics. But if you have terminated employees that you no longer keep in regular contact with, you might want to reach out to them. Just make sure that their addresses are still correct or update them with new addresses. So like I mentioned, you can provide this electronically with employee consent. And just a heads up, the deadline is now the same for distribution to employees and filing with the Social Security Administration. So that deadline for next year is January 31st, 2021. So the copies of Form W-2s are due to employees by then. Forms W-2 and W-3 need to be filed with the Social Security Administration. And then this deadline also applies to contractors. So if you are paying contractors on a Form 1099, you need to make sure that you get that Form 1099 to contractors by that same deadline. So January 31st is an important date for doing lots of things and getting lots of things done. You're also going to need to file, in most cases, the 1099 and 1096 with the IRS by January 31st as well. Not always. There's some caveats to that. Okay, so that kind of took care of my top 10 list. I just want to note that this checklist is not all inclusive, and you may have more payroll tasks that pertain specifically to your business. We have a nice free handout here, and I'm actually going to bring this over and show this to you. It's a nice 2-page checklist, and it goes into actually even more than what I just covered for you. So this will be in your handout, and it just kind of serves as a nice little 2-pager of what you need to do to make sure that everything is in order for you. Okay, so before we move on, I was going to show a little bit of our software demo. We're about halfway through the hour. So Emily, are there any questions at this point before we move on?
Nope, you're good to go.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm going to flip over here. And this is a sample account that I have set up. So this is just sample fake information that's just me in this test account. What I'm showing you now is actually a sample of a co-branded advisor's account. So you'll notice I have my own sample logo here in the corner, not Patriots branding. And then I have a company switcher that allows me to switch back and forth between my clients. So this lets me administer all of my clients under one login, which is nice and convenient. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the basics of how to run a payroll, because that's really what the gist of our payroll software is the 3-step process. So it's very quick and easy to use. You'll see our interface is very clean and easy. It's a 3-step process where you're going to enter payroll. Step 2 is you're going to approve the payroll. And then step 3 is you're going to print your paychecks or pay stubs if you need to. So in my case, I have a couple hourly employees and then a salary employee. So they're grouped hourly first and then salary. And then also I've got my frequently used hours and money here. So this is not everything that I have set up. These are just the ones that I use most often, and I don't want to see every single one. If I do need to use one of my other types of money or hours, I have a little toggle over here called Show All Pay Types. And now you'll see everything that I've got set up in my account, including, notice I've got my 3 hour types for COVID, which Patriot automatically adds for all of our Patriot customers. So if we do need to pay somebody for COVID paid leave, we can do that easily. And then the types of money, any kind of bonus or commission or any kind of flat dollar amount that we're paying. So I can see everything, but if I want to zip it up and keep it clean, I'll just untoggle that show pay types. So in this case, I'm just going to quickly add some hours here. Okay. And my salary person is just defaulted to be set to pay them automatically unless I turn them off. So I want to point out that we do have the ability to pay 1099 contractors in payroll. This is a feature that we just released at the beginning of this year. We're very excited about this because a lot of people had asked for this feature. So in this case, I do also want to pay 1099 contractors on this pay run so I can show you what it looks like. I'm going to click that and notice this button now says continue to contractors. So this page, I'm all finished with my employee hours and money. And then I'm going to continue to my contractors. And then it's going to show me just the one contractor I've got set up here. So I've already preset his 1099 type. So if needed, I could change this. So this is all going to depend on what form is going to be used and also what box number is going to be reported. So we'll just keep it at non-employee for now. I have chosen an expense account because I do have my accounting product tied in with this. So I can book this to whatever expense account I want. We do have the ability to track departments. So if I wanted to, I could track a department, and this is just the amount of money that I was going to pay this person. Now, another thing I want to point out is direct deposit is available for contractors as well as employees. So that's a nice feature to have. So in this case, I do have direct deposit turned on for both my employees and my contractor. So I'm going to click review payroll, and then I'm going to move to step 2. And here we are. So I am a full service payroll customer. So Patriot's going to take care of my payroll tax collection for me. It's going to show the amount of money that they're going to be withdrawing from my bank account for the payment of payroll taxes. And then for direct deposit, there's a separate withdrawal for the net pay that will be paid to all of my employees and contractors. So step 2 is going to give you a summary of what the payroll totals are going to be. And then you can click view details to drill down to each person. So you can see exactly what's going to be showing up on that employee's pay stub. And you can see a summary of their hours, any deductions that they have set up, all of the employees' taxes that are being deducted, and then the employer contribution. So these are the ones that I was referring to. It's not affecting the employee's pay, but it's just showing them as an FYI, hey, this company's giving you $19.35 in company match this pay. And then same with employer taxes. So the unemployment, the employer Medicare tax, federal unemployment, and employer Social Security. So we have kind of these 6 different sections in this details. So I can scroll down and see these details for everybody, and then shows me the totals at the bottom. And then because I'm a full service customer, it's also going to give me the breakdown of that tax withdrawal. So if I wanted to see more details, I can see how that total is coming up. And then it's also showing me the contractor. So assuming everything is good, I'm just going to click approve payroll. And it's thinking, okay, so I'm all finished. That's really all there is to it. So it's a very quick, easy process. And then it's just asking me when I would like to print my payroll. So in this case, I'm not going to print anything because they're all direct deposit, but I could print pay stubs. So actually, let me just show you quickly. I'm going to bring in a screenshot here of if I were to be printing actual paychecks. We actually have 2 different options. You can use completely blank check stock, and the software will print that MICR number at the bottom and the blank line. So if you run payroll for different clients using different bank accounts, you can do that, use your blank check stock and enter each individual bank account number for each client, and this will print nicely on blank check stock. And then if you use pre-printed check stock, this is what it looks like. So it's just going to just have the information to print, but it will have, you know, the lines, and you will have your pre-printed MICR toner with the bank account number at the bottom. Notice you can also upload a image file of your wet signature. So you don't necessarily need to sign all of your checks if you want the option to upload that as well. Okay. So I have finished running a payroll. I just wanted to quickly show you how easy that was. The next thing I wanted to show you is, because we do get a lot of questions about this, is does this integrate with QuickBooks? And the answer is yes, it does. I'm going to be showing you in the settings here. So my menu on the left here, takes me everywhere I want to go. So in settings, under payroll settings, we have a payroll integration options. So in my case, I have defaulted to integrating with Patriot Accounting because we have our own payroll, or I'm sorry, our own accounting product. So the payroll that I just ran, that has been booked to accounting, and I'll show you that in a minute how that looks. However, I can also choose to integrate with QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online. So if I were to choose QuickBooks Desktop, I can choose really for all three of these options. I can choose the journal entry type. So I can choose whether to book one total summary for all employees, or I can choose separate check detail for each employee if I wanted to see that level of granular detail for every single person. So if I had QuickBooks Desktop, what I would need to do is come in here and manually type the account names that you have in QuickBooks, how you have them set up in QuickBooks exactly. What will happen is once you add all of your account names, you can then export the payroll. It will export as an IIF file for QuickBooks, and then you can import that into QuickBooks Desktop with all of the information. QuickBooks Online, we also have. So my test account is not set up for QuickBooks Online, but what you can do, you can connect your QuickBooks, and what it will look similar to how Patriot Accounting's looks, where it's going to pull in all of the expense accounts that you have set up in QuickBooks, and you can choose how you want each of these entries to be mapped. So it's going to bring in your asset accounts for the net pay entries. So the expenses, it's going to bring in all of your QuickBooks Online expense accounts. So once you select all this and have all of these mapped, then Patriot will automatically send that information to your QuickBooks account, and then you can run reports to see the activity for each payroll, when it will be time-stamped when Patriot actually sent that to QuickBooks, and it will show you the status. I also want to just bring in very quickly, along with the report, you can see a payroll journal, the online payroll journal entry. So you can see exactly what was sent to QuickBooks from Patriot. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. Okay, so the other, let me get my bearings here and see where else I wanted to show you. Okay, the other thing I want to show you is we do have time and attendance. So backing up prior to running a payroll, you can actually manage time cards. This is an add-on, so this is not automatically included with payroll, but you can choose the time add-on, and then you can give your employees the ability to access their own time cards in their portal, or you can enter the hours here. So in this case, I've got just a few hours set up. So you can do both hourly, where they can enter their in and out times. You can do a time punch for hourly, where the hourly person has to punch their time. They don't have the flexibility to just put any old time in their cards. So depending on how you want to set that up, or salaries. For salaried employees, they're just going to enter one bulk number of hours per day. So this is what the time card looks like when you, let me exit out of here, when all of the employees have completed their time card, or whether the employer has completed our time card, we have the action to send this to payroll. So this goes right into payroll. So when you go to payroll step 1, instead of you manually data entering the hours, it will already be added in there. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. The other thing that we are literally working on as we speak is the ability to integrate with T-sheets. So we are in the final stages of development of this. We're looking forward to getting this out to you. So I don't have a lot to show you with this yet, other than if I click learn more, it will give me an option to integrate with T-sheets, similar to how we integrate with QuickBooks. So when you click that, you would enter your T-sheets login information so that Patriot and T-sheets can talk to each other. And then when you go to run payroll, you can import your T-sheets hours right there without any data entry. Okay, just a few more settings I wanted to show you here under payroll. So this is where you would set up company level deductions and contributions. So this is where you'd set up any type of deductions. So 401k, dental, medical, and then the contributions are the company paid portions. So company match, the employer's portion of any kind of benefit. So this is where you would set this up. And then on the employee's record is where you would actually assign them to employees so that it starts actually showing up in their payroll. Going back quickly to our settings page, we have hours and money types. So this is where I have all of my hours set up. So when we were on payroll step 1 and I expanded to show all of those hours and money, that is where this is managed. And then let me just show you real quick. We also have the ability to set up time off accruals. So if your client has a policy that allows employees to earn little bits of time off, oh, okay, this account isn't set for it, but you can, like, for example, you can have the employee earn 1 hour of vacation for every 40 hours worked. You can set that up here and then assign that to employees. And then as payrolls happen, they will begin to accrue little bits of time off. Okay, let me go to reports. And I just want to show you the payroll details report. This report is going to show all of the details of the payrolls that you run. So for the payrolls that I just ran, this is it looks similar to when you expand to view the details. So I just wanted to point out this report you can actually download as a CSV file. So if you needed to import this into another accounting software package, you can download the CSV file. It will contain all of the details for that payroll, and then you can import it into whatever other software package that you need. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the COVID settings that we've been adding as a result of some of the laws that have been passed this year. So we've already talked about the paid leave that that employers are required to pay. Let me go back to settings here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to reports. I went to the wrong spot. Sorry about that. Okay. So under payroll tax reports, we have the ability for employers to request to defer the employer portion of Social Security tax. So this is an option. It does not have to be done, but if your client does want to defer Social Security tax payments, this is something that will need to be repaid. So just because you're deferring it doesn't mean you don't eventually owe it, but it is an option. So you can choose to defer employer Social Security. This is different than the employee's Social Security. I will show you that in a minute. That's something relatively new. And then also, if the employer wants to opt into receiving the employer retention tax credits, we have a little questionnaire here that determines whether or not you qualify. And then as you're running payrolls, tax credits will accumulate. So if you have received a loan under the Paycheck Protection Program, you would not qualify for this. So that's why it does ask you some questions just to make sure that you are eligible for that. So let me go back. I'm going to now flip over to the employee Social Security tax. So this is literally just a brand new thing that we have added to the software. So the president signed a memorandum asking the Department of Treasury to allow employees to defer the withholding and payment of their Social Security. So now we have employer Social Security and employee Social Security. They're both able to be deferred. So this is, again, just because it's deferred now through the end of this year, the employee will need to repay it next year. So it's just an option. Employers can choose whether or not to even give this option to the employee, because it's ultimately up to the employer's responsibility to pay that Social Security. So if they don't get that money collected from the employer is still on the hook to pay that. So it's up to the employer, completely optional, but the employer can choose, if they so want to, for deferring, and then they would select the employees that they would want to apply that deferral to. So they don't have to do it across the board to all employees. It can be just picking and choosing based on the employees who were interested in having that Social Security tax deferred. And then an option to defer for all new people. So as they're adding new people to the system, they won't have to remember to do that. So this is another COVID-related feature. Not sure how many employees will take advantage of it, just knowing that they do have to pay it back. So might be more trouble than it's worth. We don't know. We'll see. The other thing I wanted to show you is, yes. If you do collect tax credits as the employer and you don't want to wait for your next 941 tax filing to claim those credits, you can have the option through Patriot to request refunds directly from the IRS using Form 7200. So what this is, it's just optional. Again, it's just only if you didn't want to wait for Patriot to apply your tax credits on your next quarterly 941 filing. So if you did nothing, that's when you're going to see your tax credits. But if you didn't want to wait until that quarterly filing, you could request whatever tax credits you have available now as a refund from the IRS. I don't even know what the time frame is now of the IRS processing these, but what happens is Patriot will send that request directly to the IRS. It'll be a pre-filled Form 7200. The IRS will then directly refund that directly to you. So that's just an option. Okay, so that takes care of all of the COVID settings that we have added this year to accommodate all of the different tax laws and things that are happening. So we also are working on a PPP loan forgiveness report. There is still some congressional action that we're waiting on and some guidance to see how that's going to all shake out, but that will be coming as well, so that when businesses do need to fill in their PPP loan forgiveness form, we will be giving them a report to help them get the numbers that they need to fill in the form. Okay, we're at 12:45. Any questions before the last thing I want to show pretty much is just the process of creating W-2s and posting them. So before I do that, I just wanted to stop and see if we have any questions about anything so far.
No questions in the Q&A box.
Great. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually switch my account to a different account here. So I'm switching to my client called Florida Flowers and Gifts. So in this case, I have 3 employees. So I'm going to just go to my employee list here, and I'm just going to show you how this looks. So I've got 3 employees. If I drill down into an employee's record, we have links that go across the top. So these are kind of just the tabs of their record. So you'll see we've got some personal info in here. This is where I can find her pay info. So I know she gets paid weekly frequency, and she's paid hourly, $20 an hour. And then I can actually, we can add up to 5 different hourly rates if you do need to track more than one rate for an hourly employee. So we can do that. We can see her paycheck history here. We can see her tax withholdings. And then I'm going to skip advanced, but we can see any deductions and contributions that she has set up. And then the employee portal, I can see that I have not sent her a registration invite. So what happens is the employer sends the invitation for the employee to register directly. So the employer is not going to know what username or password the employee has chosen for security purposes. Only the employee has access to that. Let me go to switch to one of my other employees here, and you'll see that their registration is complete, and that's just my own email that's sent to. So this is the employee's record, and I just wanted to show you that real quick. So once I'm ready to create my W-2s, I've made sure that everything is in there. I'm going to go to my reports, and I'm going to click, first I'm going to run the W-2 and W-3 summary report. That's just one step that we would recommend. And it really is just going to show you all of the dollars that are going to show up when you really go to make your W-2. So it's just a way for you just to quickly review and just make sure that everything is good. So if everything is good, we're going to go back to reports, and we're going to click W-2 forms. Now, in this case, we do not have 2020 W-2s loaded up in our software yet. So we're going to pretend it's still last year, and we're going to make W-2s for 2019. So in this case, we have, so this top section is really asking you, who do you want to create these paper W-2s for? And how do you want them printed? How do you want them formatted? So we have 2 options here. So we can either create W-2s just for employees who did not electronically consent. And if I scroll down here, you're going to see your list of your employees and whether or not they consented to receiving their W-2. And I'll show you in a minute where they do that in their portal. So I can see I've got 1 lady who did not consent, and I have 2 others who did. So if I want to just print W-2s just for the people that truly need the paper forms, I can do that. Otherwise, if I click this other option, I can create W-2s for whoever I want. So it really doesn't matter if they've consented. If you still want to print W-2s, you can certainly do that. So I can choose all of my employees. I can just handpick whoever I want. And then once I've done that, I'm going to choose how I want my W-2 formatted. So in my case, I don't want to buy forms. So I'm going to choose 1 copy per page for blank paper. And I'm going to print this and I'm going to show you what it looks like. And the other option is 4 copies on 1 page, but you need to use the perforated forms. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to choose the 1 copy per page for blank paper. So I'm going to click Create W-2s. It's going to think a minute and it's going to download a PDF down here. And so what it's going to do is I can print these on blank printer paper, but it's going to print 4 pages per person. And that's because there's different copies that need to be given to the employee to be filed with the different agencies. So copy B goes to the employee's federal tax return. If I scroll down to the next page, copy C goes for the employee records. There is copy 2, which goes to the employee's city, state, or local. So that's why we have to have different pages, because you don't have the perforated forms if you're using blank paper. And then we're required to also include the instructions to the employee. So that's what the 4th page is for. So you would simply put blank printer paper in your printer, print these out, four pages per employee, and stick them in the mail or give them to them personally. And your job is done for actually distributing to employees. The other option, and I can reprint these very easily, is I can choose 4 copies per page for perforated forms. So I'm going to create them again, and I'm going to have a different PDF download here. And this is what the 1-page perforated form looks like. So you have to buy the forms that have the little perforated edges between each one of these so that you can easily separate all 4 copies. So it's the exact same information that's printed on all 4 of them. It's just a question of, do you want to purchase the perforated forms, or do you want to print 4 pages per employee with just your blank paper? So one thing I wanted to point out is, if you look at these and you notice something is wrong, it's still okay and it's not too late. You can go back into payroll, make changes, make whatever you need to make, and then you can come back here and click Create W-2s as many times as you need. So ideally, try to get that, correct before you actually post to the employees portal. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but the sooner the better, especially before that January 31st deadline. So let's say everything looks good. I'm ready to post the W-2s to my employee portal. So you'll see I've got a nice button here. This is all I have to do is just click this. It's going to give me a little confirmation message asking me, are you sure? Yes, I am sure. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And it's in the process of doing that. And it's telling me at the top, W-2s have been posted to the employee portal. Be sure to notify your employees. And so what happens is, let me see, normally my email comes up pretty quick. Okay, I'm going to show you the employee. Hopefully you can see this. The employee is going to receive an email to let them know, assuming that they do have an email address in our system, they're going to get an email when you post the W-2. So they will know that they now can go into their portal and view their W-2. So I just wanted to show that to you. So I'm going to log in to my portal here. This is Sally, and I'm going to give you a quick tour of the portal, but let me first finish the W-2s. So if I go to the W-2 forms, you'll see that this is where the employee consents to receive the W-2 electronically. So by default, it's set to receive a paper W-2. So the employee does have to log into their portal and choose to consent. And you'll see here, I have my download 2019. So if I click this, it's going to behave similarly to when I created them on the employer side. So it's always going to choose the blank version because the employee is not going to have the perforated forms. So when the employee downloads the W-2 in their portal, they are going to have their 3 versions, and they can print as many copies of these if they need to, or they might not even need to if they're filing their taxes electronically. And they have that 4th page with instructions. So this is how the employee will receive their W-2, which is nice and convenient. So one other thing I want to show you real quick, I realize our time is wrapping up here, just a quick tour of the employees portal. So I can view my paychecks. So if and this is kind of a report, so I can go back to as far back as I need. I can look at all of my paychecks. I can add up my totals. I can manage my personal information. So I can add my home phone numbers. I can change my email address, add my birthday, gender, and address. I can update my federal tax withholdings here. So this is an electronic way. Instead of filling out the paper form W-4, the employee can go in here and indicate the same. It's just the same as filling out the W-4 in paper. It's all of the same fields. And then the employer gets notified when the employee does this. It automatically updates the software. So there's nothing the employer needs to do, but it's just an FYI for them. So they know that the employee updated that. I've already shown you the W-2 forms. And then here is just where the employee manages their username and password. One thing that this account doesn't have is the ability to manage their time cards. So if they did have the time and attendance add-on, the employee could also go in here, add their time that they worked for their pay period, and then the employer would go in and approve that. They also have some reports as far as payroll history. And if they have time off history, they can go and see what, and in this case, it's just COVID hours, but they can see if they had vacation or other paid time off. They can see their starting hours, how much was given to them, how much they've used, and the balance. So employees will be able to see exactly how much vacation time that they have without having to ask the employer, how much time do I have? What's my balance? They can go in there. So that takes us to 12:55. Does anybody else have any questions or anything? I didn't even get into the accounting portion of our product. So if there is anything else that we want to cover in the next 4 minutes that we have, Emily, if you just want to let me know.
There's nothing in the Q&A so far.
Okay. Well, let me just go ahead and quickly show you some of our accounting product here. So let me go back to my original account. Okay, so in the left menu here, we have our accounting. So we have, let me just click on the overview. So the overview is just common accounting tasks. So we have a full accounts receivable product, accounts payable, and then just financial journal entries and things like that. So I can see at a glance what my balances are for all of my different accounts. And then I can set up for the receivables, I can set up products and services that I have. I can set up my customers so that when I go to create invoices, I can invoice my customers. So let me just quickly show you the create invoice. We also do have the ability to accept credit card payments through Card Connect with your customer invoices that you are sending to your customers, or that your clients are sending to their end customers. So you can create an invoice, you can set the terms if you didn't already set them on that customer's record. If you want to select a department, you can, and then you can add your products here. You can also easily add new products on the fly. You can choose the account to book it to. You can add discounts if you want in the percentage or dollar amount. And then you can, choose your sales tax if you have different sales taxes. You can make attachments, so you can attach files. So if you have scanned in receipts or images, you can attach them here. And then you can create the invoice. Once you do that, you then have some actions that you can take based on what you've created. So you can apply a payment to the invoice. You can email this directly to the customer. So this shows up as a PDF when you email it to the customer. You can create a recurring invoice if you have our premium product. If a customer has a regular invoice that you don't want to keep manually adding every month or every week, you can set up recurring invoices. You can edit this if you need to, attach it, add other attachments to it, void it, or delete it. So that is customer invoicing. We also have your vendors, so your accounts payable people. You can print checks to them, so you can add payments. So it works very similarly to our 3-step payroll process. It looks kind of similar, where you will select your vendor, add the check date, and choose the account and choose the 1099 type. So very similar to paying contractors in payroll. Actually, if you have our accounting product, the contractors and the vendors are the same thing, assuming that you want to pay them in payroll, you can do that. So you're working from your same list of vendors here. And then you can also connect bank accounts. You can import your transactions. Oh, I thought I had one here, but you can then go through the imported transactions from your bank, book them as entries into the accounting product. You can split transactions. You can set up rules to make it a very quick and easy process. So that takes us to 12:59. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the clock here. So that's just a very, very quick overview of our accounting product as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Annie. I think all of the questions that were sent in were answered by Michael or Stephen.
Okay,
so
great.
If anybody has any last minute questions they want to send in, okay, we did just get one. Is there any special offers right now?
Steve, do you want to take that one?
Sure. As far as special offers, we have the best pricing every day for our partners. So go to patriotsoftware.com/advisor and you can take a look at our wholesale pricing that's there.
Yes, I actually forgot we do. let me quick. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, so I apologize. I did forget. I had a slide for this. So yeah, so we do have retail pricing published on our website. And then for advisors, depending on the number of clients that you have, you are eligible for a percentage off of those retail pricing. So you'll see here, there's different levels depending on the number of clients that you have. And then if you have at least 6 clients, you do get free payroll for your own firm.
I'm going to go ahead and launch that last poll question
Great.
as well. Are you interested in learning more about Patriots? Thank you, guys. Thank you, Annie. Great presentation today.
Thank you, Emily.
Everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you. Everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'll give you guys a little bit more time to get this question answered, but here shortly, I will get the webinar recording and handout to everybody. So I'll go ahead and end that. Again, thank you guys so much. Oh, we have 2 more questions that popped in, I think. Is there any per employee price?
There is a per employee price. So the way the retail pricing works is for full service payroll, which is what most of our companies opt for. It's a flat $30 plus $4 per employee or contractor. So that's a flat monthly rate. It doesn't matter how often that employee gets paid. So the employee could get paid 7 times or 1 time. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that if that employee got paid in that month, then that counts as that. So that $4 per employee then is going to be reduced by the either 20, 30, 40, or 50% off, depending on the level that you're at, depending on your clients. So yes, so payroll is per employee. The accounting is just a flat monthly fee, regardless of how many vendors or customers that you have.
Great. Thank you, Annie. And yes, the webinar will be recorded and the recording and the handout will be emailed following today. And we'll also do a rebroadcast of this webinar probably next month or so. So again, thank you everybody for joining us, and we hope to see you at the next Insightful Accountant webinar. Have a good day.
Thank you.